So in today's class, what we will do is we'll continue from where we had left on in the previous class. We had exposed ourselves to some of the commands, and in today's class also we'll continue with the commands of the Unix operating system, right? So just keep your paper and pen ready. So some of the commands that we had seen on that day was cat command, and then we had seen ls command, right? We had also seen certain commands which basically allowed the programmer to copy a file, to rename a file, to delete a file. So what I'm going to do is today we are going to move into what is called as directory related commands. Okay, just make a note of it. Directory, to be very specific, you can call it as directory manipulation commands. Okay, directory manipulation commands. Now in the world of Unix operating system, you have basically 4 directories. So what I mean to say is there are 4 special directories in the world of Unix that plays an important role in the entire directory structure, right? So just make a note of 4 special directories. The first one is called as root directory. The first one is called as root directory. Now this particular directory is considered to be the highest level in the hierarchy of the Unix operating system, right? Now it is the root of the whole file structure, and hence this particular root directory will not have a parent directory, right? If you try to recollect the concept of hierarchical tree structure which we were discussing earlier, that this particular directory structure of Unix is exactly similar to the tree structure what we people have seen in data structures. The root node of the tree, right? Similarly, the root node or the root directory is at the topmost position in the hierarchy, and hence it does not have a parent directory. Okay, so be careful. The root directory in your Unix operating system will not have a parent directory. That is one thing. Second thing is, in the Unix environment, the root directory always has several levels of subdirectories. That's what we have seen the other day, correct? The root will always have several sub-levels of directories. As an example, we had a directory called as bin, we had another directory called as etc, then another directory called as dev. These are all special directories which forms at the next level, right? And this particular root directory, very important point that you people should be aware, that this directory belongs to the system administrator. Okay, so you do not have any right, you do not own any sort of ownership on this particular directory which is called as root directory. It can be only changed by the system administrator. Okay, so that is the first special directory that Unix supports. The second one is called as home directory. The second one is called as home directory. Now we use this home directory whenever we first log into the system, right? Now in most of the Unix operating system, once you give the login and password, you know that you get the dollar prompt. Okay, now this particular dollar prompt is nothing but the prompt at which your home directory actually resides, right? So I'll show you once I come to the dollar prompt from the editor, right, how these directories looks in the world of Unix. Now this particular home directory contains any files we create, and may also contain, you know, some of our personal files, the profile files, and all those things. So basically this home directory is also the beginning of our personal directory structure. As a matter of fact, each user has a home directory, and the name of the home directory is the login ID itself, right? Now say for example, just hold on. There are 2-3 students who are standing in the waiting room. All right. Okay. So let us continue. So I was just telling you that the home directory by default for any programmer is the login name itself, right? Now, say for example, if my login name is NGP, that's what I was telling you the other day. So what happens is in most of the Unix operating system, the home directory or the login basically comes in USR directory, okay, in USR directory. And hence what happens is my default home directory will be /USR/NGP. Okay. Now NGP is actually my login name, correct? And this particular login name is created in a directory called as USR, right? So this is the directory called as USR in which this particular login name is created, and this USR itself is a subdirectory in the root. So you have something called as /USR/NGP, right? So this is going to be my home directory. The third type of directory that is available in Unix is what is called as working directory. Okay. So the third type of directory available in Unix is called as working directory. Now, the working directory is also called as current directory, right? It is also called as current directory, and you have a command which will denote the programmer at any given point of time in which directory he or she is working, and that command is nothing but pwd, which stands for present working directory. We will see the output of this command shortly. So pwd actually stands for present working directory. Okay. Now, when we log in for the first time, right, the working directory or the present working directory will always be our home directory. Please understand. When we log in and give the password, we get the dollar prompt, correct? At that dollar prompt, our working directory will always be same as the home directory unless we change it, right? So if we have subdirectories under our home directory, right? Now say for example, NGP is my home directory. In that I have a directory called as C programs, where I develop all my C programs in this particular directory. So C programs directory is a subdirectory in NGP. Understand? Okay. So in which case what happens is if I am working in C programs, my path will be /USR/NGP/C programs. Okay. Now, in line number 15, right, C programs is what is called as current working directory, which I will get to know with the help of my pwd command, current working directory. Now, this particular C programs, its parent directory is NGP, and NGP's parent directory is USR, and USR parent directory is root. Okay. So it is not necessary that every time your working directory is a home directory. Not necessary. Please understand, right? It is only during the first login that the home directory will be same as current working directory. Okay. Now, and the last directory is what is called as parent directory. Okay. It is called as parent directory. The parent directory is immediately above the working directory. As I just told you that here C programs is current working directory. Now this C program comes under NGP, right? And hence NGP becomes the parent directory of C programs. Watch out very carefully. NGP becomes the parent directory of C programs, right? So when we are in our home directory, the parent directory is one of the system directories. Do you agree? Right? When we are in home directory. Now look at line number 9. This is my home directory, which is NGP. Now NGP's parent directory is what? USR. And you all agree that USR is not my own directory. It is not a directory that I have created as a programmer, right? It is a system directory. And that is why I made a statement that when we are in our home directory, its parent is one of the system directories. Please understand, right? And in our environment, the parent of our home directory is a directory which is known as USR in most of the Unix applications or in most of the Unix flavor. Okay, so just to sum up this, Unix supports 4 special directories: the root directory, the home directory, the working directory, and the parent directory. Okay, so with the help of commands, which are basically called as directory manipulation commands, right? Let us try to understand the 4 directories which your Unix supports. So let me come back to the prompt of Unix operating system, right? And this is what it is, right? Now, the first directory command is what is called as pwd. Just make a note of it. The first directory is called as, the first directory command is called as pwd. It stands for present working directory. Okay, so PWD stands for present working directory. Okay, now what happens is, in the world of Unix operating system, sometimes programmer forgets exactly where he's working, and at that point of time, when you issue a command called as rm star, which you have seen the other day, which is a suicidal command, uh, if you're not aware where exactly you are working, and then you issue the command called as rm star, and accidentally you will end up pressing enter key, then nothing can be done on this earth. So it's always good for the programmer to know where exactly he or she is working. So there's a command called as pwd. You just press enter key and you will get the output of that particular command, right? So the output here is /home/admin1. Okay, /home/admin1. Now what does this indicates? That admin1 is my login. Okay, so understand that admin1 is my login, which is created in a system directory called as home. And this system directory home is a subdirectory which is in root. Okay, so my current working directory is admin1. Got the point? My current working directory is admin1. Now let us look at all the 4 directories with respect to this particular admin1. Okay, so I'll just go to the editor and let me come back to the. Okay, so this is what was the output of the pwd command, correct? So /home/admin1, right? Now let us look at all these 4 directories in this particular example of line number 4. Root directories slash. Got the point? Root directories slash. My home directory is admin1 /home/admin1. You can also say like that, /home/admin1. Got it? So that is my home directory. My working directory is admin1. Understand this. Okay. My working directory is admin1. Now admin1 is created in which directory? Home, and hence my parent directory becomes home. Watch out carefully. Got it? So my PWD was /home/admin1. My root directory is this one, that is slash. My home directory, either you can say admin1 or you can also say /home/admin1. It is always good to say /home/admin1. And then my working directory is admin1 because that is the directory in which I am currently working. And that's what I also told, that whenever you log in, your working directory will be same as home directory. Got the point? And my parent directory is HOME, which is created, correct, or which is responsible for the creation of admin1. Okay. Now let us try to understand some other commands with respect to the directory manipulation. Now the first command is called as mkdir, which stands for make directory. Okay, which stands for make directory. And this particular command takes one parameter, and that particular parameter is nothing but the directory name. So the syntax of mkdir command is mkdir followed by the directory name. Okay, now let us create a directory. Have a look at this particular output. In the long listing of the file, right, you know very well that if the starting character is D, then it is a directory, right? It is a directory file. Now, all the directory files which you see now as a part of the output, they are not created by me. Okay, so I will now create a directory file for all of you. mkdir, I will say what? C program. Okay, I'm going to create a directory called as cprog. Right now, this particular command successfully creates a directory. Understand this. Okay, and since it successfully creates a directory and does not do anything else, you will get the dollar prompt. Watch out. So what it indicates, the successful return of the dollar prompt indicates that a directory called as cprog has been successfully created. Now let us see whether the directory is successfully created or not. So I will say ls minus l. Watch out, the first line, you will see the directory created here, correct? And see the first character of this long listing, D, right, which says that it is a directory file. I can also say ls minus l cprog, right? And since this particular directory is empty, I'm not going to get any output. Okay, cprog. The next command is cd, which stands for change the directory. cd stands for change the directory. The syntax is similar to mkdir. So it says cd, it takes one parameter, which is nothing but directory name. Okay, but the condition is whenever you are using this command, you should ensure that the directory is already existing. Please understand, the directory is already existing. So what I'll do is, let me say I will use this particular command to go to a directory which is not there. So I will say ngp, right? Now ngp acts as a directory, and let us see what is the output of this command. It says no such file or directory, because there is no directory called as ngp which is created in admin1. Understand this carefully, right? Because you will get all these type of questions in your quiz. There is no directory called as ngp which is created in admin1. But you all agree that just now we created a directory called as cprog. Got it? We just created a directory called as cprog in admin1, right? So what I'll do is I will go to that particular directory. cd cprog. Now watch out carefully, right? So I'm requesting the operating system to take me from the existing directory called as admin1 to a newly created directory called as cprog, and then I just press enter key. I'll get a dollar prompt, but with a slight change. Look at the change. The change is like this. This is a change as compared to the previous one. Okay. Now, since this is a GUI flavor, you can see these type of changes. But in the original, older version of Unix, particularly SCO version of Unix and those flavors at that time, irrespective of how many times the programmer gives the cd command, he will always have dollar prompt on the screen. Now, that was the prime reason why pwd command was invented, right? Every time if you have only dollar prompt on the screen, you do not know in which directory you are actually working, right? But as days progressed in the world of Unix, which became more and more popular, these type of changes were incorporated in the flavors of Unix. But still I have a doubt that what is my current working directory. So you can say pwd. Now you look at it. In earlier output, pwd was showing as /home/admin1. But now it is showing as /home/admin1/cprog. Okay. So that means cprog is the current working directory. Got the point? cprog is the current working directory, right? Now let us also see the nomenclatures with respect to other directories. Root directory, you know very well, it is slash. The home directory is /home/admin1. The current working directory is cprog, and the parent directory is admin1. Got the point? So admin1 acts as a parent directory for cprog. Similarly, home acts as a parent directory for admin1. Got the point? Similarly, home acts as a parent directory for admin1, right? So this is what is called as directory manipulation commands with respect to pwd, mkdir and cd. Now there are different versions of this particular cd command, right? Cd followed by the directory name will always go one step forward, understand, right? That means it searches for a directory in the hierarchy structure one level below. Understand this, right? It will go one level below. But at the same time, if you want to go somewhere else, right? Say for example, you say cd space two dots. Please make a note of this. cd space two dots, right? It takes the control from the current working directory to the previous directory. It takes the control from the current working directory to the previous directory. Okay. So what I do is I will just press enter key. I'll get the dollar prompt and then you say pwd, right? Now what is the previous directory of cprog? Can you type it in the chat box? The parent directory of cprog. Correct. Yeah, I could get all correct responses. The parent directory of cprog is admin1. You can cross verify with this, and that's the output, right? So cd space two dots will take you to the previous directory. Now I'm sure all of you might be wondering what will happen if I say cd space two dots now, correct? Tell me, if I give cd space two dots and I press enter key, what will happen? Type the answer in the chat box. Okay, there is one answer called as it will go one directory back, correct? Let me tell you, this answer will not be accepted because you are telling the definition of cd space two dots. Okay, so there is a case study given in front of you which says that slash home slash admin one, and from this place where admin one is your current working directory, if you give cd space two dots, where it goes. So the answer for the question is, you should say home, right? It will go to home, or you can also say slash home. Either one of them is correct. Okay. So let us say cd space two dots. How do we check it? We just check pwd. So you will get slash home. Okay. Now, can I say here cd space two dots? Can I say here cd space two dots? Okay, I can say cd space two dots. So what is my pwd then? What will be my pwd then? Correct, it will be root. That will be slash. So you can either say slash or you can say root. Both are one and the same. Correct. Now, what is this root? It is the topmost directory of your hierarchy. I told you earlier that it is this particular root directory which is at the highest level in the hierarchy structure, right? And I also told that this can be only changed by the system administrator. Okay. Now, do not be under impression that if you get the slash or if you get the root directory on your screen, you are the system administrator. No, that's one of the greatest blunder that a programmer commits, thinking himself or herself as a system administrator just by looking at the physical appearance of the prompt. Please understand, you have got this slash with the help of cd command. You have not got this slash by giving the login as root and giving the password of root. When you give login as root and when you give the password, right? I'll just show you in the editor. Watch out. When you give login as root, okay, and then you give the password of root, correct, whatever it is, then if you are really a system administrator, you will give the correct password. And once the login and the password gets matched, the Unix operating system, as I told you in the initial classes, the default prompt of the administrator is hash. Correct? Now this is what is called as system administrator's login. Correct? You can even change the physical appearance of your dollar to hash, but that does not signifies that you are a system administrator. Please understand this. There is a provision by the Unix which allows you to change the physical appearance, which allows you to go to the root directory using cd command. But if any of these things you do anywhere in this world apart from login root, you are not a system administrator. Take it granted from me, you are not a system administrator. So once I get the hash prompt, the one that I'm showing you in line number 4, here I will say pwd, and now I will get the output as slash. Now this is the real system administrator's prompt, the real system administrator's root login. Please understand. And just imagine, I have just now logged in as a system administrator, and I have my hash prompt similar to one which is shown in line number 6. Sumne, I'll just do like this, and I press enter key. Please understand. I just do like this. I'll just type RM star and I press enter key. You know what? Nothing will happen. I'll get hash. That's it. And if I say ls, it will say no file found. Right? So you have to be extremely careful because system administration is not, not an easy topic. you should be extremely careful. You should be intelligent enough to handle the world of system administration, in the world of Unix operating system. So let me come out. These are all self-explanatory. I have already explained you. Just go through it. I'll go slowly. So I have CD home. From root I went to home. So I have this. Okay. So here what I do is I'll create a file called as test, and then I'll just type something. Okay. Right. So my PWD is what? Can you now if I'm going to type a command called as PWD here. Please type the entire output. Type in the chat box. What is the output I'm going to get here after I press enter key? I could get only 2 answers, 3 answers. I mean, not 3 answers, 3 people giving me answer. All right, I have 4. Okay, there is somebody who is telling CPROG, which is not correct. Otherwise, by and large, whatever the answers I have got, it is right. There is one person who is telling CPROG/test. No, that is wrong. CPROG/test is wrong because test will not come for simple reason. Test is not a directory file. It is a ordinary file, right? I had just created this file called as test. Okay. So the output of this command is, as some of you have told correctly, /home/admin1/cprog. Okay. So please be careful with the commands, right? These are the type of questions that I'm going to ask you in the quiz, which I'm going to conduct shortly, right? So if you are not able to understand, you have any doubts, please ask the questions as and when you have doubts. Okay. So the last command in directory manipulation is what is called as rmdir command. It stands for remove directory. rmdir command, which stands for remove directory, and it takes one parameter, and the parameter is nothing but the directory name. Okay, it takes one parameter, and that parameter is nothing but the directory name. Okay, now before I venture into this, I have one question in the chat box which says that what error do we get if we give another CD space 2 dots at the highest level, right? Now what is highest level? Let me go back to the highest level. This is the highest level, right? Now this particular level or the directory that you can see is the root directory, right? Now the root directory do not have any parent. Understand, right? The root directory do not have any parent because it is at the highest level, and cd space 2 dots will always go to the parent directory, and hence what happens, if you give cd space 2 dots, it just gives you dollar prompt. Okay, it just gives you dollar prompt. It won't give you anything else, right? You should know, as a programmer, you should know when to use cd space 2 dots. So I'll go back to my CPROG. Okay. So in CPROG, I have a file called as test. Now we were discussing about rmdir command, which allows you to which allows you to remove a directory. Now, before you use this particular command, there are two things as a programmer you should ensure. Okay. The first thing is the directory that you are removing should not be your current working directory. Please understand. First thing. Second thing is the directory that you are removing should be empty directory. It should be empty, right? If you try to recollect, you know, this particular command or the conditions that the programmer should remember before issuing this rmdir command is similar to demolishing any building or probably demolishing, your residence or whatever it is. Now, for example, if you want to demolish your residence, basically what we do is we first remove all the, the stuffs, the items or the materials or the, products or, TV, chair, table, whatever it is, right? As a matter of fact, whatever is there inside the house or residence, we first remove it and keep it outside. That is the first thing. Second thing is, tell me honestly, right? Will you be inside the house when demolishing takes place? Maybe. I don't know. You are all great programmers. ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್ ನಾನು ಒಳಗಿರ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೇರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಶ್ಯೂರ್. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್. ಸೊ whenever the demolishing takes place, you will be outside. And hence what happens is the current working directory should not be the directory that you are trying to remove. Right? Now let us see what happens. Okay? First nodana. Iga what is your current working directory? CPROG. Right? Now you are already in CPROG. Let us see what happens when you issue the command CPROG. Here, it gives you an error message stating that failed to remove CPROG, no such file or directory. Correct? Now what do you mean by this? You look at the long listing of the files in CPROG. There is a file called as test. There is no file called as CPROG athwa there is no directory called as CPROG under CPROG. Understand? And because there is no directory called as CPROG, it gives you an error message called as failed to remove. No such file or directory. Right? So we should look into the conditions to be followed when we are using this rmdir command. Right? So first ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, let us say I will check my PWD and then I'll come back. Okay, watch out very carefully now. See the series of operations. This is my PWD. There is a file called as test in CPROG. Okay, there is a file called as test in CPROG. I will go to parent directory. Now my PWD is admin1. There I have CPROG. Do you agree? I have CPROG in admin1. Now I will say rmdir CPROG and I'm going to press enter key. Correct? What will happen in the next line? Please type your answer in the chat box. So there are two who have given me the answer as dollar prompt. One says CPROG is removed. One says I will get an error message. One says cannot remove. Okay, so there are multiple variations of the answer, right? So let us directly check what happens. And it says failed to remove. And see the reason. In earlier case, the reason was no such file. But now the reason is directory not empty. That means you are trying to demolish your house by having the household items still inside the house and you're trying to demolish. This is not possible, correct? Try to recollect. Your file test is still in CPROG. Okay, be careful. Your file test is still in CPROG. Okay, so it is not possible for you to delete this particular directory. Okay, so nanen martini. First, I will go to CPROG. I will check there's a file called as test, right? Now I have to remove this particular file test. Okay, which command I will use? To remove a file test, which command I will use? Okay, good. I am getting the answers as I am getting the correct answers. So I will use the command called as rm. Right now, rm test will remove a file called as test, and I'll get a dollar prompt, and then I will say ls. Correct. So this particular directory CPROG is empty as of now. Okay, that means the first condition I have satisfied. What is that? The directory which you are planning to remove should be empty. Okay, so I have done that. What is the second condition? The directory should not be your current working directory. So I will come back to the parent directory. Okay, I'm going to clear the screen. Now my PWD is admin1, and in admin1 I have CPROG, correct? Do you agree? I have CPROG, and then what I do is here I will say rmdir CPROG. Understand? I'll get dollar prompt, and then I will say once again ls minus l, and then you will find CPROG is totally disappearing. Okay, got the point, right? So this is how basically the 4 so-called directory manipulation commands works. Okay, so that is pwd and then rmdir, pwd, rmdir, or I'll go in order, mkdir, cd, and rmdir, right? So these are called as 4 directory manipulation commands. Okay, so just try to recollect this, and if you have any doubts, I'll give you 2-3 minutes time to clarify any doubts. Please put your doubts in the chat box, or you can raise your hand. I will give you permission to unmute, and then you can ask me the question. Okay, I have a question. Is there a command to directly jump from CPROG to home directory? Now, when you're talking about home directory, are you talking about HOME or admin1? Okay, if you are talking about admin1, now here in this case, admin1 is parent of CPROG, so you can go because it is a parent. But if you're talking about HOME, you can go, but you have to follow a different methodology. Let me create a directory, CPROG. And then let me go to CPROG, and then I'll say ls minus l. Okay, so PWD is CPROG. Now from CPROG, if you want to go to admin1, you can directly say this one, correct? You can do it. But if you want to go to HOME, okay, you can go, but you have to give something called as absolute path name, and you say cd/home. Understand? So when you give slash, right, when you give cd space slash, okay, this particular slash, it is an indication to the operating system to start the journey of changing the directory all the way from the highest level, okay, all the way from the root, right? So it directly goes to root, and then from there it follows the what we call it as depth first search, similar to depth first search. So it goes from root, and hence what happens when you press enter key, this is what it is. So this is the way you can go directly from cprog to home, right? Admin 1, then cprog, you see, correct? You can also go like this, cd slash. Wow, fantastic, right? So I can go like this, admin 1 slash cprog. Okay, so there's a small missing. I should say cd slash home admin 1 crog. Correct? Sorry, pwd. Got the point. So this is what it is. Okay. Any other doubts, please? Yeah, I have another question. If we are currently in the root directory, by typing cd cprog, can we directly move to cprog directory? No, you cannot. Yeah, any other doubts? There is another doubt. Can we have two directories with the same name? No, you cannot have it. Okay, see, we'll just try it out. It's very simple, right? So I have now a directory called as cprog, right? So I'll just once again say, right? So it says cprog already exists, so you cannot do it. You are a programmer, you should know what you are doing. Yeah, any other doubts, please? All right. So we will continue with the commands. Take down. The next one is general purpose utilities. General purpose utilities. Just make a note of a statement. Virtually every command you know, virtually every command you know under the Unix system is classified as a utility. I repeat, virtually every command you know under the Unix system is classified as a utility. Therefore, the program resides on the disk. Therefore, the program resides on the disk and is brought into the memory only when you request, that the command be executed. Only when you request that the command be executed. Okay, so let us look at a couple of commands in Unix operating system. The first command is called as echo, right? It allows you to output on the screen. Echo allows you to output on the screen. Okay, it is similar to the printf command of your C programming language, right? But it is much more simpler to use the echo command in Unix operating system, right? So it's very simple. I just say echo, I am learning Unix, and you just press enter key, you will get the output, right? So it just allows you to output on the screen. You know, the usage of this echo command you will see once we do shell programming, right? So where echo command basically acts as the output command, right? Now another variation of this echo is you can also use echo command to output the values of the variables. Okay. Now say for example, I say x equal to 10 and I just press enter key for the point, and then I will say echo x. Okay. I will say echo x, right? What is the output of this command now? If I say echo x, yeah, I could get only 3 people answering as of now. Try to answer because your chat box also gets recorded. Okay, I could get now 8 to 9 answers, correct? Now, yeah, one more is typing the answer. Okay, so except one, all of you have said the answer as 10. Okay, now let us see the answer. What is the output? When I say echo x, it will give me x. Please understand, right? Now that is because the x that you have written after the echo is treated as text by your operating system. And just now we made a statement that echo allows you to output on the screen. So whatever you give after ECHO is just cut and paste on your monitor. And hence what happens? Echo X will print X on your screen. Okay. Nowhere you are telling the operating system to print the value of the so-called variable X, or you are nowhere telling to print the value associated with X. Please understand. And since you are not telling, what Unix does is echo X will just output X. He doesn't know what I should do. And as I told you earlier, all these type of pitfalls which you will see in your journey of Unix operating system, you guys as a programmer have to take care of it. Nobody will come to your rescue. Correct? It is your headache. You stand upside down, you commit suicide. Echo X will give you X only, Raja. It won't give anything else. Right? You go mad, you run away from this earth, you shut down, you bang your Ubuntu, you throw your laptop in the dustbin. Echo X will always give you X. It's very simple, right? But then your task is not to get the value of X. And if the whole idea is to get, if the whole idea is to get only the text X, then tell me, why did you assign the value, or why did you assign the variable X to with it some value, right? So it is your headache. To get the value associated with the variable, we precede the variable with dollar symbol, correct? Now the significance of this dollar symbol just before X treats X as a variable. It will not treat X as a text. Got the point? If X is preceded by a dollar symbol, it is treated as a variable and not as a text. And what's the value associated with this variable X? 10. Now you will get the output as 10. That's the beauty of Unix. Okay. I will make it more user friendly. I will say echo value of X is $X. Got it? The output. Got the point? So this is similar to what you used to write in C programming, printf with appropriate syntax. Value of X is %d, and then you used to write double quotes, comma followed by X, right? But you don't have stuffs like format specification in echo, you just go ahead with the simple way of getting the output, right? Just precede the variable with the help of dollar symbol. Okay. So just go through the stuffs which is there on the screen. I'll just clear the screen now. All right. Okay. Now let me also give you some versions of echo command. So we said echo, I am learning Unix. Okay. And now what I'll say, I will say the same thing. I'll say echo, I'll say /n, and I'll say /n. Okay. If I want to use those, I have to enclose the entire stuffs in double quotes. Okay, so I'm getting echo double quotes I /n am /n learning /n as Unix. Okay, so let me do a small change. No, it's not giving. Actually, /n basically takes you to the new line character. I think there is some problem with this. Let me check it and get back to you. But that is how the echo command works in Unix operating system. Let me check this /n and get back to you. Okay. What is the output of this command? Please type it on the screen. Okay. It is hello, right? Now let me show you the, sorry. Okay. Can you see the output? Right? You can see the output of ls minus l. Okay. Now I will tell you this echo hello greater than test. Now tell me, is this valid? If yes, what is the output? If not, why it is not? If I press enter key, what will I get on the next line? I will give you options. I will get hello. I will get error. I will get hello greater than test. Right? I will give you three options. One is hello greater than test. Second one is hello. And third one is error. I will also add one more option. No error. Or my favorite statement, I don't know. Am I right? Okay. Okay. Fine. Quite good number of them have replied, but I'm sorry to say, except two, majority of you are wrong. Roll number 18CS180 and roll number 18CS37. These two have given the answer correctly, right? Some of you have said hello greater than test, which is wrong. Please try to understand, make your fundamentals very, very strong, right? Greater than is considered as a redirection operator, and hence hello greater than test will never come on the screen. The moment at these places, when Unix encounters greater than symbol, it will treat it as a redirection operator. Absolutely no other go. Please understand this. At any given point of time, greater than here is actually treated as redirection operator. Okay, and hence hello greater than test will never come on the screen, right? So what happens is you actually get a dollar symbol, right? Now I have told you earlier that in redirection, whatever follows after greater than is treated as a file, and test is a file. I have purposely given the name test as a file because you already have a file called as test in your current working directory. That is why I showed you the output of ls minus l command, right? And then we have also seen when we discussed the cat command that if the destination file is already existing, right, the redirection operator will override the contents. And you also know that it is because the redirection works under the principle of fopen library function of C, where the second parameter of that fopen is write mode. And whenever the file is opened in the write mode, the position of the file pointer is always at the beginning of the file. And if the file is already existing, the contents are always, you'll end up losing the contents. And hence, in this particular line, echo hello greater than test. See the significance of each and every word. Echo is a command, hello is a text, greater than is a redirection operator, and test is a file. And hence what happens, the text hello, instead of displaying, or rather I'll put it like this, echo hello, instead of displaying hello on the standard output device, it will redirect the output to a file called as test because of the presence of this redirection operator. And hence hello is available in the file called as test, which is correctly told by two students whom I mentioned sometimes back, right? Now I will say cat test. What will I get? I will get hello, right? And the earlier contents of file test is already lost. Okay, so this is how the echo command works in Unix operating system. Okay. Now let me check. There is one more command called as banner. That's the problem. It's not. I'm just trying to install the banner command because it is one of the most beautiful command one can see in the world of Unix operating system. I hope it gets successfully installed. All right, so let me just check it out. So I just say echo hello, it was giving me like this. Now I will say banner hello. Wow, fantastic, right? It's just nothing great about this particular command. It just displays the output in a large format. Okay, banner command displays the output in a large format, and the output will always be in terms of hash character. Okay, if you look at the character H, it is resembled as H, but with the help of hash. E also is written in hash. L L O, it is also written in hash, right? So it is just one of the command that is supported, sometimes you want the output to be shown on a, on a larger scale or a larger magnitude, you can just use the banner command. Okay, so there is nothing called as font size or fonts or font size. Nothing like you can increase the size of the font. No, because Unix is not meant for such type of decorative works, for which if you want to carry out such type of works, you have your Microsoft Word, you have Paint, and you have so many other softwares which will do all such type of fancy and colorful stuffs for you. But Unix is totally different, right? So don't try to find out too much on how to increase the font, to make it color and all those things, right? So it is basically towards system programming side, and hence we don't appreciate those type of things on Unix platform. Okay, so we can also say banner. Okay, I'll clear the screen and I'll say cat test for all of you. You have hello, then I'll say banner hello greater than test. Now I'll say cat test is what it is. Okay, so again here banner hello greater than test, greater than is acting like a redirection operator. Okay, I have some questions on the chat box. Can we perform arithmetic operations with echo? All right, so shall I go with this echo 5? What is the output when I say echo 5? Yeah, so I could get the answer as 5. Fantastic, great, all of you. You're understanding now. Can I say 5 plus 5? I press enter key, what will I get? Exactly what Unix gives me. I want you to type the answer. Okay. Okay, 5 plus 5. Got it. So that is how I'll get the output, because nowhere you are trying to add 5 plus 5. Okay, so one way of doing it is you just say A equal to 5, say B equal to 5. Right now, can I say echo $A plus $B? Yeah, what's the output of echo $A plus $B? Okay, now people are giving me answer as 10. Let us see whether they are right. Oh my God. Ana Unix ana idu. $A gets substituted as 5, $B gets substituted as 5, and 5 plus 5 is exactly like this. Correct? So again I will get 5 plus 5. I mean, there is a space between A and plus, and there's a space between plus and dollar, and hence I'll get the space here also and here also. Okay, so how do I go about it? I will say what? C is equal to okay, so if at all you want to perform arithmetic operation, you have to make use of another command called as expr, correct, which allows you to evaluate the arithmetic operators, right? But that should be done in a pair of opening and closing quote, this quote, correct, this one and this one, which is called as ascent graves. Okay, I type it here, which is called as ascent graves. Correct. This is a reverse single quote. On the keyboard, you will find this quote, single reverse quote. Okay, just below the tilde character. On the keyboard, you will find this just below the tilde character, which is your left of character 1. Okay, on the left side, just above the tab key, you will find this accent graves. Okay, so there has to be a space here, there has to be a space here. Okay, so okay, now C is equal to EXPR $A plus $B. I am going to press enter key, right? Now, after I press enter key, what will I get? After I press enter key, what will I get on the next line? Somebody says 10, somebody says dollar, somebody says 5 plus 5, somebody says C equal to 10. I've got various answers. Correct? Not all answers will be right. Either all the answers are wrong or only one of them will be right. Okay, so some of them are telling 4-5 of them have told dollar and they are right. You will get dollar prompt. Okay, now how to get the value of C? When I say echo C, echo C will give me 10. True or false? Echo C will give me 10. True or false? Hey, one person says true. Wrong, boss. Echo C will not give me 10, boss. It will give me C only. Because C is a text. It is not a variable. So what should you say? Echo dollar $C. Now you will get 10. Got the point? Okay. Now you will get 10. Right? Let me try one more. I'll just say echo EXPR $A plus $B. Yeah. Instead of wasting one more variable called as C, I can directly add the variables, add the values with the help of EXPR command, and the entire stuff I can send as an input to the echo command. Okay, entire stuff I can send as a input to the echo command. Okay, got the point, right? Okay, right. So what I do is I'll just take one more command and then we will stop. Very beautiful command of Unix operating system called as cal. Okay, just make a note. Displays the calendar. Cal command displays the calendar, right? Now say for example, I say cal 2020, right? So 2020 acts as a year and I press enter key. It will display all the calendar of the entire year 2020. You can see September 16th, which is Wednesday, is highlighted here. Okay, so September 16th is highlighted here. So by default, it will display all the entire 12 months of a particular year. Now, if you are looking for a specific year, you can just say cal 9 2020. Okay, so this will display the current month, or rather than current month, it will display the September month of 2020. Got the point? It will display September month of 2020. You can make a note. Cal 9, don't take down the output. Cal 9 2020 displays the 9th month of 2020. Okay, so let me check. It's not giving this option. In fact, it works in some places. Okay, so can I say cal 1900? It will give me the calendar of 1900. Okay, so if you want to check on which particular day you were born, right? So you can find out your day, right? If you give the month and the year in which you were born as the input to the cal command, you will find the day in which you were born. Okay, so I can just check it out for one or two of you. Can somebody type me your date of birth? Right, I will not tell your USN. You please type your date of birth, and then you can check your day on which you were born. Okay. Too many of them have sent. I have to see. The text keeps scrolling up. Okay, so the first person is, okay, I'll say Cal November 2000. Okay, so 27th November is Monday. 27th November of 2000 is Monday. Then you can see, right? I will not even disclose what date you are looking for. So this March 2001, somebody asked. Then December 2000, one more person asked. Then 1999 November, somebody has asked. Okay, so yeah, so this is how basically the cal command works. And since I've already discussed this cal command in our Linux class, correct? So for all those who attended that will not have much interest now. One of the strange calendar I have seen, rather now you are also aware, some of you, in the entire history of our world or the earth, in the entire history, one of the strangest calendar is 1752, Cal 9 1752, which will display the September month of 1752, and please closely observe the output of this particular command. As a matter of fact, for all those who have not attended the earlier Linux class, the September month has 30 days, right? You know very well, the September month has 30 days, but the September month of 1752 has got its unique place in the history, right? Have a look at the output. The 1st September 1752 is Tuesday, the 2nd September is Wednesday, but Thursday is not 3rd September. It is directly 14th September. Please understand. It is directly 14th September. One of the strangest calendar one can come across in the history of, in the history of calendar actually. Now, for all those who are not aware, they feel that there is something wrong with the command of Unix operating system. Let me honestly tell you, no. This particular command, sorry, this particular output or this particular calendar of September 1752 is absolutely correct. Okay, this is the craziest calendar that one can ever see for the month of September 1972. Okay, now the reason is this. In 1752, England made a transition from the so-called Roman Julian calendar to the more accurate Gregorian calendar. And in making this transition, 11 full days were knocked off from the month of September at the insistence of the monarch or king of England. For that month, all personnel, all the people, all the labor class people in United Kingdom, they actually worked 11 days less, correct? That is from September 3 to September 13, right? They worked 11 days less, but they collected the salary for the entire month, right? So even though the labor class in 1752 worked only 19 days, right? They could get the salary for entire 30 days. And believe me, that's how the concept of paid leave originated. And that is the prime reason 1752 is considered to be a landmark year for the salaried class people. Please understand. And because of this transition, because of this strange approach of September 1752, correct? If your day in the previous output, some of them I have shown, if your day is let us say Saturday, and if those 11 days were not removed from 1752, probably there would have been slight change in your date of birth, correct? If not for anything else, at least for the day. Okay, so this is the strange, craziest calendar that one can see in the history, right? Quite good number of people are not aware of this, right? And I also used to tell that, in earlier C++ syllabus of the university, there was a program that with the help of operator overloading, you should find the difference between two dates. You should write a C++ program, and then if you give this as input, where the starting date is September 1st, 1752, and the end date is September 30th, 1752, believe me, without having proper knowledge, the output of this particular program was always 30, across many section of students. I don't say many section of students, across entire section of students who wrote this program, right? Their output was 30, right? And that is not correct approach towards programming, because one of the important characteristics of programming is your program should take care of every small hiccups that comes into picture. Validation is very, very important from the programming point of view. It is not that you become a great programmer by typing that by writing a simple program. I always tell that your favorite program is factorial of a number, and then you give input. You give just two inputs, which is there in the manual, and you get the same output, and then you say you have developed a program. No, a good program is the one which basically caters the needs of all type of inputs. And if you are not able to take care of the 1752, according to me, you are not a programmer at all. Okay, so please keep all these things in mind before you guys land up, not only developing a program, but also when you are planning to do a mini project or probably a major project in your final year, right? So some of you have given me the names for doing the mini project. I will be looking into it within a day or two, and then I will have a Zoom meeting with only those set of students who has given me the names for mini project, right? So yeah, so that's I think that is more than sufficient for today's class. Thank you all of you, and please take care of yourself.